Hello students, today we will be discussing in this video about the stages of development as given by Piaget. Piaget has categorized the stages of development into four categories, and these four categories are sensory motor stage, pre-operational stage, concrete operational stage and formal operational stage. Now, Piaget has called this first stage of intellectual development as sensory motor stage because this is the stage when the child has not developed any form of language, and this stage is merely limited to direct sensory and motor interactions with the environment. So, here if we see, the child is having most of his learning through the inborn reflexes, sucking, looking and grasping. We will also see that this is the stage when he develops the concept of object permanence. And what is object permanence? Like if the child is playing with a toy, and if you take away the toy from him and hide it somewhere, the child feels that the toy does not exist anymore. That means out of sight, out of mind. But later on, he understands, he develops this concept of object permanence, that though the toy is not there, but it is existing somewhere. So now, if you are hiding the toy behind the blanket, then he will try to search for that toy. That means he has developed the concept of object permanence. Now let us see this sensory motor stage step by step. Now if you see in the initial period, that is the stage of reflex activities from 0 to 1 month. Here all the inborn reflexes will only be seen. That is sucking, looking, seeing. So whatever is there, he will just keep on looking at that particular thing. Between the 1 to 4 months, that is called as primary circular reactions. So here at this stage, sensations and schemas, they get little bit coordinated. So whatever the children do in this stage, they will keep on doing it repeatedly because they are deriving pleasure from doing so. So you must have seen that this is the age when the child starts sucking thumb. And when he's sucking the thumb, he starts enjoying it. And then he continues doing it. तो जब वो जो है अंगूठा चूसता रहता है, because इसको मजा आने लगता है, and it is very difficult for us, and this is the age when we keep on taking out his thumb from his mouth. अंगूठा चूसना हम इसको बंद करवाना चाहते हैं. So because this kind of feeling, that is a soothing feeling, and he is enjoying that, he is deriving a pleasure out of it. As he further grows, that is secondary circular reactions, 4 to 8 months. Now he becomes more focused on doing actions. So now they are repeating their actions to get a response from the environment. You must have seen that when the child does something and you laugh at it. So again he will do that activity because he has started enjoying that if I am repeating this action, you are laughing at it. So he wants that response from you. So he will repeat that action only for the sake of getting the response from the environment. As the child grows from 8 to 12 months, that is, we will find there is a coordination of reactions. Here the child learned to make a difference between the goal and means. And now they know how to achieve their goals. So here they will try to grab things. If they want something, they can move further and then they will try to grab things. From 12 to 18 months, which is known as tertiary circular reaction, this is a stage of trial and error. They will try to explore new things. They will make mistakes. They will repeat these mistakes. So here, this stage is very important as the child will now learn to become more confident in this particular stage. So here also they are repeating certain actions because they want to gain the attention from the caregiver. So here, he will also start walking. This is the age when he will start little bit of activities he will start doing. 18 to 24 months, that is early representation thought. Here children start focusing on mental activities. So here you are moving towards mental activities, and before this there was only the physical activities. So here now the mental activities also takes place, and this is the age when they show object ability to recognize object permanence. Okay, so here we know that even if you are hiding that toy, he will search for that toy even if it is out of sight. Towards the end of this stage, he also understand some coordination of sensory motor activities also takes place, because he has mastered the sensory motor skill. Suppose if there is a plastic box which is having some toys and there is a lid over it. So the child till the 6 months of age may not be able to find out the toy from that box, because his sensory motor skills are not that strong that he can take up the lid and take out the toy from it. But as the child grows towards the end of the sensory motor, now he can take out the lid, ढक्कन हटा के उसमें से टॉय ढूंढ सकता है. नहीं मिलता है तो उसके अंदर इतना भी सेंसरी मोटर स्किल आ जाता है कि वो डब्बे को पूरा उलट के सारे टॉयज को जो है फैलाकर, एंड ही कैन फाइंड आउट द टॉय विच ही वांट्स, एंड also he can again put up the box in a particular way and put up the toys back into the box. So by the end of this stage he is mastering the sensory motor skills. The next stage is pre-operational stage, that is between 2 to 7 years. When the child enters into this stage, now in this stage he learns the language. So now he has got a tool for thinking. He begins to utter words. Now he can ask for something by uttering certain words rather than reaching out to it. So now he can say what he wants. He can say that he wants water. He wants some food to eat, like children, they say baba, kaka, like this, the language is been developed. And this is stage can further be divided into pre-conceptual phase, that is 2 to 4 years, and intuitive phase, that is 4 to 7 years. Now if you see the pre-conceptual phase, okay, so this is the period of rudimentary concept formation. So at this stage, the children seem to identify objects by their names, and they can put them into certain classes. They may make some mistakes in this process of identification. So if you see, this is the stage when they know that a man is a daddy, but they may mistake by thinking that all men are the daddy. And they can also think that all ladies are their mommies and all dogs are Montu. So they have developed this concept, but then they are not able to develop that identification, that a particular person is only my dad and all men are not my dad. So their mode of thinking and reasoning is quite illogical at this stage. Neither we can say that it is inductive, nor we can say it is deductive in nature. So now this is the age when the way he reasons out is like, as cows are big animals with 4 legs and a long tail. So this animal, whatever animal he sees, that if that animal is also big and having 4 legs and a long tail, he will call it as a. So at this stage, his logical reasoning is not very strong. So whatever animal which is big comes in front of him and having a tail and 4 legs, he will think that this is cow only. Their thinking is sometimes too imaginative also, and it can be far from reality. and you that we make see that the children, they make certain thing from their blocks. So they will say, okay, this is my house. Even we have seen that they will make take a wood and call it as a हॉर्स और कॉल इट एज ए मोटरसाइकिल. किसी भी एक लकड़ी को या झाड़ू को जो है एक अपनी गाड़ी बना लेंगे और उसके ऊपर जो है डॉल को बिठाएंगे, बोलेंगे कि डॉल जो है वो मोटर बाइक पे जा रही है. सो दिस इज यानी देयर इमेजिनेशन इज देयर विच इज अवे फ्रॉम द reality. So at this stage they are unable to distinguish between living and non-living also. So you may have seen sometimes they are playing with the doll and they will say कि डॉल को भूख लगी है, डॉल रो रही है, डॉल को खाना खाना है. So that means they are giving the attributes of living to the non-living. So they are not able to differentiate between the living thing and the non-living thing. And the other major characteristics at this stage is concerned with this egocentric nature. So egocentric nature, what Piaget says is egocentrism is something where one of the main characteristic of this egocentrism is they believe that others also share the same perspective, because they think that this is the only perspective that exists. So everything at this age revolves around him. He thinks that the sun is following him, the moon is following him. Okay, so and he cannot think that people also may have different opinions and they can also have a different mode of thinking. So he considers himself as the center of the world, and whatever is happening, that is happening only for him. If the sun is coming, the sun is giving light only for him. If it is raining, then the rain is happening only for him. So this is how this at this stage of the first one, that is preconceptual phase, it works. The second is intuitive phase, which is from approximately from 4 to 7 years. So now at this stage the child starts developing the concepts at a more advanced level. So at this stage he will agree that apples, oranges and bananas are all fruits, though the color is different, the shape is different, the taste is different, but all can be put under same category of fruits. So here also whatever he is doing is through intuition. Logical reasoning is still not there. So child's thinking at this stage is not logical, but here also it is full of contradiction. In this stage, the child does not have the concept of reversibility and conservation. So these two characteristics are missing in the child. That is the concept of reversibility, ability to reverse, and the concept of conservation, ability to see an object as permanent even though the arrangement is changed. So that reversibility is not there. For example, the child realizes, does not understand that if he is having a brother, then his brother is also having a brother in him. अगर उसके पास एक भाई है तो उसके भाई के पास भी वो एक भाई है. So that he is not able to understand the concept. Also, he does not have the concept of the conservation. That is, even though the form is changed, but still the concept remains the same. For example, now see here. There are two containers. There are two containers and both the containers are having same quantity of water. Now the container the quantity of water is shifted into a different shape of container. The quantity of water remains the same, but the shape of the container has changed, and now this container is a long container. Now the child is asked that which container is having more water. So we know that the amount of water is same, पानी तो उतना ही था, लेकिन अब आपने उसको एक दूसरे कंटेनर में डाला. उस कंटेनर का शेप जो है वो लॉन्ग है, वो सिलेंड्रिकली है और वो लंबा ग्लास है. तो बच्चा जब उस लंबे ग्लास में पानी को देखता है और उसका जो लेवल अप देखता है तो उसको लगता है कि इसके अंदर पानी ज़्यादा है, जबकि सच्चाई क्या है, पानी सेम है. So the child thinks that there is more water in the taller container. So this we say that the child has inability to conserve in terms of quantity. He does not understand this concept. Here, now we see, here if you see in the two diagrams, there are some beads, okay, and there are equal number of beads. There are two rows and there are equal number of beads. Fine. Now, here you see, it is same beads, but now they are kept closer. Now, if you ask the child that which thread is having more beads, then he will say that the second row has more beads. Why? Because he thinks that because they are closer, it is having more beads, and he is not having that concept that the quantity is still same, only the formation is changed. सिर्फ जो है उनको करीब रख दिया गया है, ऊपर वाले में थोड़ा दूर दूर रखा हुआ है. So he does not have this concept at the pre-operational stage. Now, if we see the important concepts of this stage, that is the pre-operational stage, then we can describe into these four aspects. Egocentrism, that is, he sees that everything is because of him. Everything is working for him. Fine. They start believing that they are at the center of everything, and whatever they think is the only way of thinking, and the people do not have a different perspective. He thinks this is the only perspective which exists. So everything is surrounded around him. Another is symbolism. So here the child develops the ability to use symbol, language, pictures, signs or gestures to represent actions or objects mentally. So in the earlier stage it was only the senses and motor skills. So now he has developed that symbols to identify certain things. Another characteristic is animism. So this is what we discussed, that they are not able to differentiate between living and non-living. So for them, all objects or things are also living and have some consciousness. So the children often believe that a table also feels pain if it is kicked. A car does not get started because the car is tired. So the child believes that everyone is like him or her and all emotions are there. So that's why the child keeps on saying that my doll is crying, my doll got hurt, and all these aspects. So this is known as animism. Another important concept is moral realism. So these children, they generally focus on one aspect at a time and cannot think of any other possible situation. This is called moral realism. So this makes them believe and respect rules and authority. So children are not equipped for certain functions at this stage. So they think that they think only on one aspect at a time, and they do not have the other thing. That's why he is not able to find out that even though the beads are same in number, just because of arrangement there is a difference. So this is another concept of conservation and the concept of reversibility. So the important concepts of this pre-operational stage are reversibility, conservation, egocentrism, symbolism, animism, and moral realism. The next stage is the concrete operational stage. So at this stage, now he develops the ability to conserve and reversibility. So this characteristics was not there in the previous stage. So here he develops the ability to conserve and ability to reversibility. So now children also can do operations on concrete objects and situations. So now they develop more logical thinking. Now they start manipulating the objects. They can have that comparison that though the things look similar, but then they are not similar. They start thinking more like mature persons, and now they do not believe in animism and egocentrism. So whatever characteristics were there in the previous stage, now he understands that there is a difference between living and non-living. The things or material things do not have the qualities of a living being. Everything does not surround around him. Each person can have a difference of opinion. The children now learn many things at this stage. That is conservation. They can classify. They can group objects into different categories. They can arrange the objects into sequential order and according to the height, size, weight or children at this stage also learn to carry out complex operations. They can tackle their problems. For example, the child now realizes the importance of cardinal numbers and ordinal numbers. He can operate symbolically. So now he can, reverse the numbers. He can combine the numbers. He can also form some kind of associations between different objects. The last stage, that is the formal operational stage between the age of 12 to 15 years. So at this stage, the intellectual development and functioning takes a very sophisticated shape. Now, here the child learns to deal with abstraction by logical thinking. So now, he can learn to utilize the tool of symbolism as effectively as possible in the process of thought and problem solving. So he now gets interested. So this is all the final stage. So now he develops the formal operational thought. They learn to coordinate between different variables. So now if you will tell him that what is 14 plus 8, so he can imagine in his mind and he can give you the answer. That abstract thinking has. At this stage, if you ask the child to imagine that he has 3 fathers, he might reply that it is no use imagining such a thing as he can only have 1 father. So, the formal operational stage is having the thoughts which are involving unusual ideas. Here one can imagine figures, one can imagine shapes, and one can fly in the air without wings. So if you are telling them that suppose you are a bird, how are you going to react? So now he is able to put himself in that position and can react. So that imagination quality is developed at this stage. So according to Piaget, after this formal operational stage, the child may reach full intellectual potential. He may discover the solutions of problems through mental manipulation of symbols by adopting a logical and systematic procedure known as scientific thinking and problem solving. So here he can think scientifically because he has moved out of that reflexive stage, that motor stage, the sensory manipulation stage. So he has done away with it. So now he has developed the mental maturity and the development of his cognitive abilities have come to that level that now he can manipulate the objects. He can also have that imaginative thinking and can do the problem solving. So this is how the four stages discussed by the Piaget, uh, that is the sensory motor stage, pre-operational stage, concrete operational stage, and formal operational stage. Thank you.